Merhabalar, ben Şükrü. Peer-to-Peer'in bu bölümünde Bitcoin açık kaynak kodlu yazılımlara değerli desteklerini sunan Calle ile birlikte olacağız. Calle bize bugün Bitcoin üzerinde çalışan Lightning ağını, LNurl'i, LnBits'i ve Lightning tip botu anlatacak. Daha teknik olan bu bölüm, ileriki bölümler için de güzel bir altyapı sağlayacaktır. Hi Calle.
Hi man.
Hi.
Nice having me. Thank you.
Yeah, nice to have you. So we initially got to meet each other in Lightning Hack Days in Istanbul, which was very cool actually. So thanks for being there as well.
Sure, man.
So
Great event.
it was fun, huh? What is Lightning? Let's start with that.
Let's start with the basics. You say, okay. So everyone probably knows Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that you need to move on the blockchain. So the problem, I mean, it has many good properties, but few of the problems is that it's slow to use Bitcoin. It's kind of expensive to use to move funds on chain. So to solve that problem, something called the Lightning Network was invented a couple of years ago, and it's been really picking up, I think, in the last 1 or 2 years. And the Lightning Network, just in short, is a way to send Bitcoin very fast and almost for free. So it's still the same coin, it's still Bitcoin, everything, but you basically, the picture of it is you have Bitcoin on your blockchain, and then you take it up, you lift it up onto the Lightning Network where, again, a new infrastructure exists where you can then zap Bitcoin from one place to another within milliseconds, basically, almost for free. So that's a very short summary of what Lightning is. And I think what I like the most, the best analogy, I think, for Lightning on how you can imagine why this is so fast and why it's so efficient, I think for me is the tap, the bar tap analogy. So imagine you go to a bar regularly, and if you know the bar owner, there's certain trust between you. In Lightning, we don't have trust, but let's imagine in physical reality you have this certain trust. So you drink beer, and you don't want to pay for every single beer that you pay, right? So that would be just too inefficient to take out your wallet every time you drink a beer. So what you instead do is you write it on a tab. So they keep a tab on, Calle had one beer, another beer, a third beer. And then at some point, maybe at the end of the evening or maybe sometime more in the future, I can then close the tab and say, okay, I want to pay now. He sums up all the beers I have and gives me a price, right? So this is how you can make this transaction between a person and the bar owner a lot more efficient. Now in Lightning, you can imagine you have something like this with another person, but now this person also has a tab with another person and with another person. So you can imagine it's a network of, we call them payment channels, but you can imagine like a network of beer tabs basically. And once you pay, your bar owner, they can pay to someone else and forward the payment. That's how a whole network of payment, basically a decentralized network of payment routers comes into place. Yeah.
It's also like a permissionless provision, kind of. Like,
Yes,
when you go
exactly.
to a place, you give a provision, but when you do the provisioning, they are responsible of the funds. In this one, unless, you approve it, they don't hold on to your funds. So, but at the end of
Exactly.
it, everybody is responsible for their tabs. And if you try to cheat on a tab, you get punished. But basically, that's how it's made permissionless.
Exactly. So there's all kind of cryptographic magic going on to make this process that I just tried to describe basically trustless, permissionless, and almost anonymous as well. So you don't really know who you're interacting with. You don't need to know. And you don't need to trust the bar owner that they run away with your tab or something like that. So we have cryptographic and network, like game theoretic principles in this network to basically make it riskless. Or not riskless, I shouldn't say trustless. There's obviously also a risk that you could lose funds and stuff. This is always the case once you take over responsibility to manage your own money, right? But in principle, it's very safe. And today, I think we're also going to see some applications that show, how easy it has become to work and interact with Lightning.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about LNURL? Like that's one of the, or
Yeah,
basically we could also start with what an Lightning invoice is.
Yeah. So we have this nice little page open here, right? So this is bold11.org. It's an overview page that shows you how a Lightning invoice looks like, and this is usually this string that we're seeing. So people interacting with Lightning have seen this string before. It's a string that encodes, how much do I have to send where. So this is basically, if you want to receive Bitcoin on Lightning, you generate this invoice. And then you send it to your peer, to your partner, like the person who wants to pay you, via some communication channel, like it could be email or chat or whatever. It could be a QR code that someone then comes with their phone and scans. This is the code.
Even an SMS.
So the problem with it, it could also be SMS, of course. I mean, it's relatively safe to share this also to make it public, and there's some intricacies to there, also privacy issues, but that's the general principle. So if you want to receive coin, you generate it, you generate the invoice, you send the invoice to someone, and someone pays the invoice, right? And now you can imagine this comes with a few trade-offs. One of them being, you have to generate this invoice for every single payment that you want to make. That also means that you have to be available at the moment where someone wants to pay you. So you have to actually take out your phone, enter how much do I want to receive, generate this invoice, share this invoice. So this is a whole struggle. So now LNURL is short for Lightning URL, and it's a web-based simple protocol that runs. It's a separate system again. It's basically HTTP based. So you have an HTTP server listening on some server that is also Lightning node. And it can then listen for payment requests. So basically it doesn't become like the receiver needs to initiate the payment process, but actually the sender can now initiate the payment process.
So the receiver can be offline. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the node and the server needs to be online somewhere. It could be a server in a data center, a VPS or something, while you are offline somewhere. Your phone is offline. You're in the supermarket. There is no reception or something like that, right? So it's basically the process is super simple. The sender now scans a new kind of QR code. It's an LNURL. It's not this invoice that we're looking at. And what happens is that the client, so for example, the phone, you scan it with, you scan the LNURL code. It then pings the web server and says, hey, web server, give me an invoice. So basically what we just described with the invoices here, then is repeated automatically though. So give me an invoice, then generates an invoice and sends it back over web.
Yeah.
So this whole process.
It's a trigger. It's a trigger for the web server to generate an invoice, basically, with the new amount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is the most popular way. It's called LNURL Pay. And the LNURL standard has a couple of different aspects. So I opened up here the GitHub page of the RFC. So this is the document that describes how LNURL works, basically. And if you want to make an app, you open this GitHub page and you read the descriptions and try to implement it the way that you need in your app. For example, LNURL Pay, what we just described is called Pay Request. It's this LNLUT number 6. And this describes how you want to if you build an app, how it needs to behave, basically, to do what I just described.
It also shows the wallets that are compatible with the LNURL Pay. So you can see a bunch of them.
And all the others as well. So you can already see that there's lots of more things than just pay. So LNURL itself was, I think, the first application of LNURL was not paying, but opening channels. So this whole process with the web server listening to some request wasn't there to make a payment, but actually to quickly open a channel. So you talk to the web server, hey, what's your node ID? Can I open a channel to you? And then they give you the information that you need to open a channel to them.
Yeah, so it would initially ask trigger for the public key of the other node, basically.
Exactly. So it's basically a way, I mean, generally speaking, I think it's a way to make Lightning infrastructure talk to each other more efficiently and easier out of band, basically. It's not inside Lightning. The whole communication thing is happening in HTTP web standards. And then you take the information, you exchange it, blah, blah, and then go back to Lightning and do what you want to do. This could be making a payment. This could be opening a channel. And this could also be, withdrawing from another wallet. Then there's also the standard for Lightning address. So you can also have some kind of address like Stackermore at payme.com, for example. And this kind of like email like identifier again is parsed and resolved again through LNurl standards.
You could use third parties for this, like for example Vault of Satoshi, or you could also use your own node to create a permanent address for you. So
exactly. So there's this one problem of LNurl that is widely cited is you need a web server. So that means that if you want to use the service on your own without relying on a third party, that means you have a Lightning node, and then you also need to install something that acts as a web server to make all these requests
and
possible.
It needs to be online as long as you want to receive the payments.
I mean, your Lightning node still needs to be online, so that's not such a big problem.
Yeah.
If your Lightning node is online, hopefully your web server is also always online. But you need, maybe if you want to, have this fancy Lightning address, then you need a domain name. It also works on Tor, so you can do everything on Tor as well. So that's also then easier to run because you don't need to open ports and stuff like that. So you can actually run it from home. Basically, this whole setup that also works. But yeah, one valid criticism, and the most cited one, I would say, is that you need extra software to run it, whereas there's also other attempts, other proposals that are being developed right now, like such as Bolt 12. Keysend is another method where you can have Lightning nodes directly communicating without going through HTTP. But that's how LNurl is. It just it was the fastest. It broke many things. It was just there. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't really, It's called also the LNurl mafia. The people who are working on this protocol, because they've successfully bullied almost every wallet provider into adopting
except Moon wallet. I see you are bullying Moon right now, like to accept LNurls.
Yeah, it's out of love. So I love Moon Wallet. I use Moon Wallet. I recommend Moon Wallet, but they don't support LNurl Pay yet. And the people want it.
I would like to have LNurl on it. Why not? It's a good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have a couple of issues, probably getting the UX right, and they have their own set of problems. I respect that, but it's time for them to also hop on a train, like all other wallets, basically already accepting this. Yeah. So yeah, this is how LNurl spread around the planet.
Yeah.
by bullying with love.
It always works in the Bitcoin system.
Exactly.
You bully them until they break and start using it. So
we're also I'm engaged also in other bullying attempts with podcast indexing, podcast 2.0 value for value model. For example, recently we've looked into the protocol design because we wanted to implement something and then figured out that there is no LNurl support for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, there's a technical reason why it's not the best and the most efficient way to handle things, but it is de facto the most widespread way of handling payments. So we're also trying to add LNurl to the spec there.
Yeah, I'm also a user of value for value podcasting. I like the idea behind as well. So would be also interesting to talk about that in the future, how it can be made like more mainstream in Turkey, because I think like few people really uses it in Turkey yet, but it has a good future ahead. So,
I hope so.
Should we check some LnBits apps, or what do you think?
Let's do it. So I'm working on this project with a couple of other people, of course. I'm one of the developers here for a project called LnBits. LnBits is a accounting system and extension system. So it's basically a way to generate many wallets. And why is this useful? I think the idea is basically, if you are a Bitcoiner and you know how to run a server, you know how to install things because you know Linux and stuff like that, you want to be able to provide to your community, to your family, to your friends, maybe Lightning wallets. So you want them to use Lightning, but they still need some assistance. So LnBits, for example, is a great way to do that. Basically a software that you install on your node, and then someone comes on your node via a web server, a web browser, and then they can generate a wallet and just use it, basically, what you provide. So
Perfect.
I think we can just demo that if you want.
Yeah, that would be really good.
All right, so let's go out here. Go to legend.lnbits.com. This is the demo server that you can use, but you can also install this on your own node. I mean, it supports all sorts of different backends from C Lightning to LND and all these web-based wallets as well.
Yeah,
So
I have it on Voltage. I tried it on Voltage the other day, for example. It works perfectly fine.
Yeah, they run it with LND, for example. Yeah, exactly. So this is, you just have a web address, and you go there, and this is the startup screen, and it says add a new wallet. So it's very simple. Let's say we want to, test wallet. Just call it test wallet, add a new wallet, and boom, we're inside. So this is a wallet. It's your satoshis. You can pay. You can receive. You can scan a QR code, and there's also a nice API description here. So this means that LnBits is not only for human use, so you can not only use it with your browser, but it's also very suited for building applications that use Lightning and want to make use of this.
LnRelay, to use with LnRelay, like to relay informations or triggers, like the Poyo feed, for example.
They also use it. I didn't know that, actually. Yeah,
I'm not sure what they exactly use, but could be used.
So there's a couple of projects out there that use this, even companies. One of them is, for example, vida.life. It's a service where you can just get paid for accepting phone calls. They also use LnBits. So it makes sense for many people to use it, because if you have lots of users and you want each of them to have a wallet, and you don't want to, care about accounting and the proper, keeping tab of everything happening. That's basically what LnBits does for you. So it's very useful to just build an app on top of Lightning without having to worry about all the Lightning stuff.
Yeah, true. So, you don't have to deal with the channels or anything.
Exactly. So if you want to build, let's say you build a game that has, you can earn satoshis through the game or something like that, I would go for LnBits, because there's a very simple web API. You just need to learn how to talk to it, and the rest is managed for you.
Perfect.
So, shall we go in and see what it can do?
Yes. So through the extensions.
So yeah, exactly. LnBits. So this is the wallet itself, but there's also now here the nicest part about it is the extensions. So it's kind of like similar to a WordPress experience or something. We have many different functions. So basically, why lots of people like LnBits is they install this on their node, and then go to the extensions, and you see all sorts of things that you can do with it, right? So there's a Spotify jukebox extension, for example. If you enable that, you can generate Lightning invoices, and if someone pays them, they can choose the next song on Spotify. For example,
I tried it yesterday. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we were talking about LNURL before. Of course, also LNURL is supported in LnBits, so we can just, if you like, just have a look at what it looks like. So LNURL Pay is the standard for paying. So, and in this case, receiving payments. You just enable this, and if we enable it, it just popped up here. So here's still my test wallet. Here's LNURL Pay. I go to the extension. Now I can create a new payment link. So let's do that. I just add the text wallet. I just, call this test description. And let's say I want to I have a fixed amount, or you can also say minimum or maximum. Let's say a minimum with 1 Satoshi and a maximum of 100 Satoshis. It's a very simple pay link, and there's all sorts of other things you can do. For example, webhook is very interesting. This is a function that calls another web server once you receive a payment. Could be interesting to build stuff, right? But we don't do that now. We just created a link. Now it popped up here. And then when I go here, here is now QR code. And now this QR code is not an invoice like before, but it's actually LNurl.
So let me try. For example, can I make a payment using this?
Go ahead,
of course.
Yeah,
And you'll receive. Yeah, let's try.
Yeah, sure.
Come on, focus. Okay, it's getting the details of the URL. And
because
then
we set a range from 1 Satoshi to 100 Satoshi, you also can choose now how much you want to pay.
Okay, I sent you 16 Satoshis. I don't know why. I fat fingered into 16, so.
Yeah.
And,
Here you go.
That was fast.
Already in my wallet. Thank you for that.
No problem.
That was fast, yeah. And there was a real lightning payment, so things moving fast. But there's all sorts of cool things now you can do with this. So this is still the same QR code. You can print this. For example, if you are a store owner, this is ideal to print it and to put it on your wall, for example. So if you have a customer coming in, you don't have to, create an invoice every time and show it to the customer, but you can actually just show them this static QR code. They can come, scan it, enter the price themselves.
Also, it's perfect for tips. Could just put it on the tip box.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. If I was a street musician, for example, I would definitely print an LNurl code and just, add it to the codes that I have anyways, basically. This is the easiest way to receive Lightning payments and tips.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine for tips. And we can also do other cool stuff like you were talking about, creating Istanbul cards that are actually like prepaid Bitcoin cards.
Yeah, you can do now very interesting things with this because now, since we have a permissionless system, right, we can do everything without having to ask the banks whether we are allowed to, without having to ask Visa whether they like us or not. We basically just build the stuff and use it. And that's why it's going so fast and so well, I would say. So we have here now a LNurl pay link. I think before we can talk about the prepaid card, we also have to talk about LNurl withdrawal. So this is another LNurl scheme. We're just talking about payments now. But there is the opposite also from payment, which is called withdrawal. And we can also generate a withdrawal link now. So again, we go to the extensions.
Instead of paying like the other one, this withdrawal link lets you send amounts, basically.
Exactly. So I can use this link now that I'm going to create to take out the Satoshis from this wallet again. Right? So I enabled it. Here we have it. And now it's called vouchers, right? So because you get something when you use it. And I choose the wallet. And I need to choose at least 10 Satoshis. And let's say I just want to enable this maximum 10 times. Now that's done. And now what I can do is, for example, here's the code. If you want, you can scan it again with your phone. And you should get your money back. So do you want to do it or should I?
No, you can do it.
Yeah, so okay, I'm using a completely different wallet now. This is Phoenix wallet. I'm not going to show it, but...
So it's interoperability, basically. So different types of wallets can work on the same protocol.
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, many wallets support this standard. So I can just take my phone, scan this. Now it asks me like, okay, you want to get 10 Satoshis? I say,
why
yes,
not?
I want them. And I'm done already. So if I go back to my wallet, you see 10 Satoshis and 1 Satoshi fee was deducted from my wallet. So it's basically, we just showed the two ways, paying and receiving using LNurl.
Perfect.
And now sorry?
I said perfect.
So now these things, with these things, you can now start building cool stuff, right? So now we want to create our own credit cards because also we want to be independent of the credit card companies. And that's a way you can generate this. So if you think about withdrawal, what this thing just did was to pay someone who scanned the QR code, right? So if you go to a store and you want to pay for the fruit that you want to buy, for example, you could also just present them this QR code. In principle, they could scan the QR code. You could say, okay, this is, I don't know, like $10 or something, and to $10, and they get the money. But it's way cooler to use NFC cards for that. So that is why this function also, LNurl withdrawal, you can not only scan the QR code with the camera, there's this button here from in your browser. So this only works with Android and Chrome for now, and it won't work on my laptop here. But when you press this button, a thing pops up here in your phone. So in this case, it says not supported, but in your phone it says, please tap your please tap your card. So you take basically, take your phone, you go to the site that I just showed, and you press the button, and then you take your card and you just hold it and beep, and it fills this card with the link.
Yeah.
Now, this card is now capable of delivering this link to anyone you want to pay. So basically, when you now go to a store, for example, they say, okay, here is $10. You take out your card, and then they have their phone, and you just touch the phone, and in the moment you touch it, basically, a payment is initiated and is paid from LnBits to the phone. Basically.
Yeah, so to get it, you can either have like special point of sale devices, or you could even use like wallets like Breeze Tech, because they also have NFC applied, so you could use a Breeze wallet to get the payment from the card.
So that's what happens on my card here is LNurl, like the withdrawal link that I just showed is here, and even like I'm not going to show my phone screen, but when I just tap it, Breeze comes up automatically. So it just asks me immediately, hey, there's a withdrawal link on there. Do you want to receive it? I press yes, and I got the money.
Perfect.
So this is basically, it's slowly getting into a point where using Lightning becomes better than using credit cards and everything, because we're free to experiment, and basically all these different ways of solving the same issue can compete and get better and better.
And the fees are not
problem,
like
for example,
3% or anything like that, or you don't get you get paid immediately, and there's no chargeback fraud that some places are suffering from. So it's good.
Exactly. So this was a final payment. It cannot be reversed anymore, and the fees that we paid was before. I mean, it's in the satoshi region, so it's not its basis point.
1 satoshi, for example, which is like nothing, 0.0002 cents or whatever. So it's
soon.
Yeah.
So for the technically avid listeners and audience, you would probably think now there's a problem with what I just showed, because this link is static. So this withdrawal link, it doesn't change over time. That means once I give this link to someone, they can actually take the link and reuse it multiple times.
Yeah, so it's not good to place it on a static place, so people could go and continuously withdraw from it.
So there's multiple ways to solve this. One of them is already implemented, is when you create the link in the advanced menu, not in the simple menu, you're also asked how often does the link should it be usable, and you can also give it a limit per day. So how many satoshis per day do you want your card to be able to spend? And another thing that is will be soon added as well is also a big contribution from the guys at Bitcoin Jungle that want to use this. It's a community project in South America, and this will use a slightly more modern version of these cards that can actually generate a random hash once you hold it to the reader. So that means it will be able to generate one-time usable links only. So the moment you tap it, that link will be sent to the receiver, but they won't be able to reuse that link.
Expire once it's used once. So
exactly.
It's perfect.
So it basically solves the replay problem. Yeah.
LnPay.co was using something like this before. that it would generate a QR code for you, and you could also set it up for, yeah, I want it to be withdrawn once an hour, so you had to wait 1 more hour to get a second withdrawal, like the first version you were talking about. This is also,
I mean, when you go here to advanced and you make the same thing, you're also able to set the time between withdrawals here in any time you want. And it just makes sense if you want, for example, a cute, nice gift to the public would be to generate a wallet and print a withdrawal link and just put it somewhere on the wall. And obviously that would be cool because everyone now can get 100 satoshis or something, but you don't want it to drain very fast, so you just make a limit, rate limiter.
So with Lnpay, I like printed something like over a year ago.
Yeah.
Not a single person withdrew from it. Because we are still so early, you know, people.
We're still early. I mean, these links. If you spread Bitcoin in your city on the walls, it will. I mean, you're a pioneer anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I did the only withdrawal myself, so was interesting. Good. So pretty cool stuff. Well, is there anything else that is cooking for LnBits or that you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, LnBits going very fast. We have lots of different extensions coming up. I mean, I showed you the list is already long, but right now we're focusing a lot on making this more stable, more efficient and usable because, for example, you'll see that there is a point of sale extension here. This is something that you can use if you have a store. So you would basically, for example, euro, and I can generate a call. So, second, does this work? No, it needs a name. Now, this is very cool. So this is, you can imagine, this is something on your iPad in your store, for example, and you want to just sell coffee or so, and you enter €2 and you press OK, and then you get this nice little pop-up that now the customer can scan. There's also the NFC button, so you can also use your phone to receive the payment. One example of that is here. I took out this tweet where they actually show this POS. So you see here a phone exactly with opened up LnBits. Some guy now wants to receive €5.20, and then someone takes a card like this.
Yeah, and clicks on the NFC.
And the payment is done.
Ta-da! Perfect. It's you know, Joe Hall did a video recently, like they were comparing the speeds of MasterCard and the T-POS. Like the T-POS was so much quicker, or using Lightning was so much quicker to get the payment, and it's like you said, it's a finalized payment, so
yeah, exactly.
It's
I
pretty
mean,
neat.
We could be as fast as MasterCard if we didn't care about finality, right? So you can just update databases immediately. That's no problem.
Oh, but even the device,
final payment.
It was faster than MasterCard when they tried it. Like they did it like side by side, and payment was received on the Lightning network faster, which was cool to see.
And to realize also, Lightning is a system that scales with the number of users. The speed of it scales with the number of users. So instead of like, in contrast to any blockchain system, right? So that's the nature of blockchains. You have a market for the space, for the block space. So that means that if you cannot pay for it, you have to wait. So the more people want to participate in a blockchain system, the slower and the more expensive it becomes per person. That's just the nature of databases. With Lightning, we have a network of routers, basically, routing payments. And for these kind of networks, the more users you get, the easier and the faster the routes can become. So the more routes you have, the faster the relay can become. So it's really something completely different, meaning that in Lightning, there could be 1 million transactions right now per second somewhere without me knowing, without really using my resources, basically, right? Without competing with me.
Unless it needs to go over your channel it doesn't use your resources. So
exactly, and if it does, I'm happy to borrow my channel for that because I get a small cut from the.
Yeah. Are you a zero base fee person or no?
I support zero base fee because I think the theoretical argument makes sense. But I would also say it makes more sense once the software actually uses that feature. So there's this chicken and egg problem basically, right? So it really doesn't matter if you put your fees to zero or not right now if there's no one actually attempting payments that would use that information. Right?
Yeah. But you would not know if they were attempting or not. So
you
it's the chicken and the egg question.
Exactly, that's also true. So there's these things. There's also someone now. We also have an on-chain watch address right now. You can also watch on-chain Bitcoin with LnBits, and there's also a project building a hardware wallet, very very cheap, €3 hardware wallet.
€3
that you can plug into. It's a very very simple microcontroller basically that can sign transactions. So it's an external signing device basically, and in combination with LnBits, so you can have your on-chain wallet in LnBits as well, connected with a USB cable through your browser to sign transactions on this external device.
What do you use? What hardware do you use for that?
So I'm not an expert on the hardware. That's why I might be wrong, but I think it's an ESP microcontroller. It's a very simple microcontroller that you can get everywhere, which is also important because you want to source your hardware yourself if you can, right? So you don't have to trust a vendor for it. You can basically build it yourself, just flash the software on it, and you have a hardware wallet that costs you almost nothing. And the reason why this is cool is because, I mean, we always think about, the cafe owner also. As a cafe owner, you might be using Lightning all day long to receive your payments, but end of day, end of week, you just want to, you don't want to hold it all in Lightning maybe. So you sweep your funds once a day, once a week onto your hardware wallet somewhere.
Yeah,
in order to initiate that process, you need a signing device, and this is what the hardware
I mean,
device
we always say, move slow, don't break things in Bitcoin, but in Lightning, it's more like, be reckless and, so yeah, of course, it's at the end of the day, it's better to keep everything on chain, have some small amounts on the Lightning, especially if you are not very experienced with it. So
exactly. So that's LnBits. We can also talk about the Lightning tip bot if you want.
Yes, please.
So
it's Telegram.
Now we're going to Telegram. So let's see how I'm gonna do that because I need to change my screen share. Another project that I'm involved in is. Here we go. Lightning tip bot. I think you're seeing it right now.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a Telegram bot that is a Lightning wallet. So if you have Telegram on your phone and that is connected through your phone number to Telegram, you can use this service. It's called Lightning tip bot to send and receive Bitcoin. What you need to do to use this is you go to the search and you look for this name, Lightning tip bot. And it's a fully functional Lightning wallet, and you can do all sorts of nasty stuff with it. So for example, I pressed here, you just enter /help, and then you see the help, gives you a description. There's some kind of also in the basics, little basic overview of what Bitcoin is, how it works, and what this wallet is. And then you see some information. It also gives you a Lightning address. So in my case, for example, it's Calle BTC at LnTips. And anyone with a username on Telegram will have one of these Lightning addresses.
It's automatically generated from your Telegram username. Yeah.
And below that, you see all different commands this bot supports. The tip command is the most high up because this is how it all started. It's a tip bot because if you invite this bot into your Telegram channel, you can then reply to a message that you liked and reply with /tip and then 10 satoshis, and it would tip 10 satoshis. Now I tip 10 satoshis
Lightning
to the
tip
bot.
Yeah. But you could also use it in other groups.
Yes, exactly. So there are lots of different groups already invited this group, but you don't need to. It's also just a personal wallet for yourself. So you just talk to this bot always. And for example, it's a great way to onboard people because you don't need any experience for that. You also don't need to, save a seed or register anywhere before, because just if you have a Telegram account, that's your access to your wallet basically.
But this is non-custodial, so
exactly. So this is non-custodial. This runs somewhere else, but it's open source. So in principle, you can also run it yourself. And the funny fact, actually, the whole accounting system and the background processing of everything in the bot is LnBits. So what I just showed you before, LnBits is below the bot. You can imagine here's LnBits, and the bot runs on top of LnBits.
So the bot triggers from LnBits all the time and creates new accounts and does the tipping.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So this is just also a way to show what's the use of LnBits, because as we've seen, you can use it on your browser with the GUI and do all sorts of things, but you can also just write an app that does something completely different but wants to use Lightning, so you can use LnBits. So let's do that. Let's generate an invoice. So I want to receive some funds here. I can do that with /invoice and then an amount, 100 satoshis. I can also just press this button, for example. Then it asks me enter an amount, 21 satoshis.
Yeah, so this is also Satoshi standard, so everything is priced in satoshis, basically.
There's only satoshi. I mean, there's also, to make it a bit easier, because we really want to stay noob friendly with this project. This is a Bitcoin educational project, basically. So we try to make it as easy to use as possible. There's the option to enter a price in dollars, but you will still get
Satoshis, yeah.
So now I have my phone again, completely different wallet. I scan this QR code, see, press play, and I received it. So this again was a real Lightning payment from my Phoenix wallet that lives somewhere over in France to the Lightning tip bot that lives in Telegram. Now the money is here and my balance is updated. So I can do the reverse. So let's say, let me share the screen back to 1 second. Let's make this a very interactive demo. So go back to LnBits. I create an invoice. Let's say 10 satoshis. Here's an invoice. I press copy invoice. Now I share back to the bot. I just copy the invoice, right? And I go here. I put the link, the invoice. I just paste it into the bot. The bot's like, hey, this is an invoice. Do you want to pay it? Press pay. Payment is sent. Payment sent means.
And so we'll have 15 satoshis in the LnBits wallet.
Here you go. 15 satoshis in the LnBits wallet. Oh no, you cannot see it.
No.
Trust me on it. It's in there.
I'll trust you. Even though we don't trust verified crew, but perfect.
But what's cool is that you can not only enter an invoice like this as a string, you can also send it a picture. So you could also, for example, you can even take out your phone and be in the chat with the bot and just snap a picture of a QR code in front of you, send it to the bot. So send the QR code into this chat and we say, hey, I found an invoice, do you want to pay it? And press.
Yeah, so the bot reads the QR code and then translates it into a Satoshi amount and perfect.
I think we can also show one more cool feature here that I really enjoy using this bot, because I use this bot to onboard people a lot. So people who don't have a Lightning wallet yet and you want it to be done in 5 seconds, right? So you don't have time to tell them, go to the App Store, download this app, write down your seed, make a backup, blah, 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 all this stuff. If you don't have time
it's a process.
You go to say, hey, for example, we went to dinner and you paid for me. I want to pay back what you just paid for me. But I ask hey, you want to have it in Bitcoin?
Sure.
Normal people say yes. So what I do is I go to the chat. I have now the chat open with you, for example, right? So I would write now, without having to generate an invoice and go in and back and forth, I can go into our private chat with you now, and I write Lightning tip bot. I say send, and let's say it was a very cheap dinner for 10 cents. I put it in. Now this pop-up comes up. I press this thing, and this pops up in our chat, in our private chat now.
Yes, and
so I sent this to you, and if you go to our chat and press the receive button,
of course I'll accept. You know, have you seen Mike Still's video?
And you press the button.
A lot of people rejected free.
I'm not sure.
Mike Still. He makes like street interviews in UK.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know
many people reject free Bitcoin, and it's crazy. It's like, oh well.
Absolutely, it's crazy. Absolutely. I mean, the guy is amazing. I can recommend watching his videos. Very interesting because it's almost like a sociological case study, and it will be referred back to in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
When and should we live in a Bitcoin standard, we will look back to this and think like, what the hell do these people do?
Yeah, what are they thinking?
What I found most striking about his videos is you can really see the group dynamics. So if he asks a group, so what he does is he walks through the city and asks people, do you know anything about Bitcoin? What do you know about Bitcoin? He just interviews them. And then at some point he's like, do you want some Bitcoin? I can gift you like $20 or $40 of Bitcoin. And it's a surprising amount of people say no. And if you watch carefully, and often there's like 2 people, 3 people in a group. So he talks to them. And you can really see he talks to one person, asks them, do you want some Bitcoin? And this first person either says yes or no.
The other follow.
One person says, the first person, if they say no, the entire group says no. If one person says yes, the entire group says yes. It's crazy because this shows how our risk assessment works. Kind of, we rely on social cues also to assess risk, because the reason why these people say no is they think it's going to be a scam, right? Something bad's going to happen. It's not like they don't want free shit. Everyone wants free shit, but they're afraid to download an app.
The thing
do
is
something
that
they don't know about, right?
You know, there is no free lunch normally, so I kind of understand when people say no. They are not expecting to receive actually something for free, so that could also be one of the things. And if you don't have any idea about Bitcoin,
yeah, I mean, of course, most people by now have heard of it, right? And most people just, their first association is that Bitcoin is worth a lot, or it's going to be more worth, or it just dropped a lot, or whatever. Most people just know about the price anyway. But he also explains them, right? I have a YouTube channel. I'm doing this for entertainment, so I can give you free Bitcoin if you want.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you know, I just find it fascinating how the answer to this question is not, do I want Bitcoin? Is, how does my friend, how does my peer react to this offer? And it's always all or nothing, basically. Everyone says yes or everyone says no. It just shows you, if you are thinking about these things about trust and how to, you know, orange pill your friends or something, it really depends on who you talk to in the beginning. Because people will just look at their peers and say, like, if he trusts it, why shouldn't I trust it? But if they don't trust it, like, I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But it works slowly, and over time, people get orange pilled eventually.
Slowly.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, the best way of finding Bitcoin is on your own, right?
Of course.
If you have your own path into Bitcoin.
It's not easy to stay in Bitcoin if you don't understand it, because, you know, it has ups and downs, and on top of it, there are a lot of mainstream media news about it. So, yeah, if you don't actually know what you are into, then you'll have a lot of doubts, and yeah, you won't stay in it. So also,
I can also recommend for every Bitcoiner already who's in Bitcoin is to, you know, level up your Bitcoin life by meeting Bitcoiners in real life. This is also just something, you know, a whole new level of enthusiasm can be unlocked once you actually find friends in real life that are also obsessed like you.
It
so
definitely helps.
We all need to talk about it.
Meetups are important. Conferences are important, because we come together and learn from each other, basically, from each other's experiences. Also, so this Lightning tip bot is also used by Bitcoin Ekasi.
Yes, so there's lots of users by now, but one of the things, the reasons I find this very cool is Bitcoin Ekasi is a South African community project where they basically try to build a, let's say, a parallel economy in a South African township on Bitcoin. And they teach, like, it's ordinary people with ordinary little stores, right? So a mom and pop store selling apples and eggs and chocolate and stuff like that. And those people, you know, there's no credit card system that supports them. There is no PayPal or whatever, right? So there's literally nothing you could use except cash.
Cash and
But
trust,
Bitcoin.
maybe. You know, sometimes you know the kid that's always visiting you and he says, okay, I'll pay later. And that's the trust factor, basically.
Definitely.
But nothing
That
other than
works as long as you know the person, right?
Yeah.
But that's the nice thing about money. Money works if you don't know the person as well. So, yeah, but I mean, since no one is there, Bitcoin is there. Bitcoin is there to fill the gaps of where no large mega corporation sees it necessary. Doesn't care where you are, how rich you are. You can just use it without asking. And so they have different infrastructure set up. The people in the project help those people accept Bitcoin and pay. So teach them how to do it. And most of them actually use the LNurl links from the bot. So I can show again, since we talked about LNurl, obviously the bot as well supports LNurl. If you go to the bot and enter /LNurl, it shows you a pay link. And this pay link is now what I showed before. It's a static QR code. And in Bitcoin Kazi, they take this QR code and stick it to the wall of their shop. So that means the sellers, the vendors there, they have this QR code on the wall. Someone comes in and wants to pay, scan this, and then they see in their Telegram wallet a payment coming in. So they immediately get a notification. And it also works if your phone is off. It also works. You know, you don't need internet, basically. Just to pay.
Which could be a problem over there sometimes.
Yeah. So it's very handy. Obviously, they also know that it's a custodial system and you shouldn't put too much money on it. It's just for play money. But at the end of the week, again, you know, this is the risk that every business person knows how to handle this kind of risk. It's like with normal, you know, with cashier system as well. You don't have, you know, thousands of dollars in there. Just empty it regularly and you minimize the risk, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see the bot just, you know, literally traveling over to the other side of the planet and serving people who don't get anything else, basically. And this is how we Bitcoin, right? So
as far as I know,
the reason why we are working on it.
They discovered the bot themselves and they started to use it naturally. So it's not like, which is also cool.
I didn't know for a long time. Yeah. They just started doing it. It's completely crazy. And now, I mean, obviously, I care a lot about what they're doing there. I think Bitcoin grassroots projects is the most magical thing that you can do in Bitcoin, right? So it's the on the ground orange pilling individual people is just an amazing work that they're doing. So I'm also supporting as much as I can. But again, it doesn't depend on me. I could just, you know, got hit by a bus, and the next day they should be able to continue operating the way they are. And this is also, you know, you just close an account here and open up here. You can just keep using Bitcoin no matter what. Basically.
You don't need to ask for any permissions. Just use the open monetary network as you wish.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for your time. It was a nice chat, and I think people will also. I learned some good things, and I hope more people will learn as well about LNurls, LnBits, and Lightning. So, so hope to see you in a meet space in the future again. Like we mentioned, meeting Bitcoiners in person is.
I really enjoyed this as well. Thank you very much and all the best and keep Bitcoining.
Peer-to-Peer'in bu bölümünün de sonuna geldik. Lütfen Satoshi TV'yi YouTube üzerinden takip etmeyi ve bildirimleri açmayı unutmayın. Aynı zamanda bölümümüzü Satoshi Radyo üzerinden de podcast olarak dinleyebilirsiniz. Önümüzdeki bölümlerde görüşmek üzere. Hoşça kalın.